Okay, so I have 30 Oreos that I've ground up in my food processor, and I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of melted butter. Okay, so it gave it a very sandy consistency. So next I'm going to put it in the bottom of my pan. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just pat it down in the bottom of the pan, but you don't want to pat it really hard because then it's going to be really tough. But you do want to compact it enough. You can use the bottom of a glass or a measuring cup or something round. But so just spread it out first of all evenly, and then I'm gonna start with just tapping the middle a bit, and then I'm gonna start going around the sides. And you can pat it so that it comes up the sides a bit if you want, but I prefer mine to have that nice clean edge. And I find that if you have it come up on the sides, when you cut it, it crumbles a bit. And I like how this one, when patted flat, comes out nicely. So now this is going to go into a 350-degree oven for 10 minutes. Okay, so I have 5 packages of room temperature cream cheese, so 4 of the blocks. And I'm going to cream them for 3 to 5 minutes to make sure they're very smooth. I'm going to scrape down the bowl and the beater several times in between, so I'll be back. Okay, so I have been mixing this on no more than medium. You want to make sure that you're using your blade attachment, not your whip, because you don't want to get a lot of air into your cheesecake because it's going to cause cracks. So you have to make sure that this is really smooth before you start adding stuff. So mine's smooth, and I just added a cup of sugar and 1/3 of a cup of sour cream. And next I'm going to add a cup of smooth peanut butter. Okay, so one thing is important as well. I'm not sure that I mentioned it, but everything needs to be at room temperature. So I just added 2/3 of a cup of heavy whipping cream, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, because this is really sweet and you need the salt to kind of tame it down a bit. And then I've also added a teaspoon of vanilla. And I have 4 eggs here that I've lightly beaten. You don't want to get air into them. You're going to add them in slowly with it on really slow speed, because you don't want this to whip air into the cheesecake and cause it to crack later. So I'll do that and I'll be back. Okay, so I have added those eggs in roughly 1 at a time and scraped down once they were just incorporated and then stopped. Then I took the bowl off the mixer and I pounded it on the counter for a whole minute just to get the air bubbles to come up to the top. So now I'm gonna pour it into my cheesecake pan. Okay, so now I'm just gonna smooth it out. Okay, so it's smoothed out. I did turn my oven down to 325 when I was done baking the crust. Took the crust out and let it cool while I was making the cheesecake filling. So now it's going to go back into a 325-degree oven, and I'll give you the time on it. I use a temperature probe in the middle, so I'll come back to you with the time. And I'm going to put a pan under the on the bottom rack with a little bit of water in it, just to give a little bit of moisture in the oven. Okay, it's 7:15 in the morning and the cheesecake's out. It's still on the base. I'm gonna do some decorating before I transfer it. I made a ganache, and by the way, the cake was in the oven for quite a long time. It's 4 inches tall, and my recipe says 325 for 1 hour, then shut it off, leave it in the oven for 30 minutes with the oven door closed and the oven off. Then crack the oven slightly, leave it in another half hour, transfer it to the to a cooling rack for 3 to 4 hours before you refrigerate it overnight. So that's where we're at. I've made a ganache, and it was some semi-sweet chocolate, and so I used 4 of those blocks of baker's chocolate of the semi-sweet, and then I've used 1/3 of a cup of heavy cream, and I've just microwaved it a little at a time until I got it where I wanted it to be. And I'm gonna go around the edges first, and that'll help it to run down the sides. And the cake is really cold, so it's gonna help it to stick. All right, from here, I'm gonna fill in with ganache. And I'm just gonna smooth it out a bit. We're gonna let it cool for just a few minutes, and then I'm gonna start adding the peanut butter cups. So I've taken a bag of Reese's Minis, and I've chopped them, and I'm just gonna go around the outside with them. Last time I put it really dense all the way through the cake, and it was harder to cut because when you put the chocolate in the fridge, it's gonna tighten up. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And next I'm going to get the peanut butter drizzle to go on the top. Okay, so I've got some of this Biscoff butter that I've put in my squeeze bottle in the microwave. I'm still in the microwave cooling. And I'm gonna just drizzle over the cake. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna let it harden for a few minutes and then I'm gonna transfer it to the box for delivery. Okay, so there's the board that I'm gonna put it on. And I'm just gonna work at, I'm gonna try to get you over here, but getting this off there and onto the cake board so I can get it into the fridge. There we go. All right, board. I'm now gonna clean up the edge a little bit, put it in the fridge so everything can tighten up. Okay, so there's my beautiful cake. It's for my sister-in-law. She's turning 65 today. So I'm just gonna box it up and get it in the fridge, and my husband's gonna deliver.